Let's go to another call. Macy is joining us. Macy, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the Twin Cities in Minnesota.
Wonderful. And go ahead. Tell us how you talk to people you disagree with, or what do you think about this issue?
Well, I immediately thought of my grandpa. Me and him are on complete opposite, different levels of the spectrum. I'm in high school still, and I remember about 3 years ago, I came out to him as transgender. And I mean, we didn't see eye to eye on everything, but it took me months and it took him months. But we realized that what we both want for both of us is the best thing that can happen. And that kind of extends out, that if we come in from that mindset, we can really find that sort of middle ground. And it's something that I don't see a lot because it's really hard to see that other person and see where they're coming from, because it's easier to see where you're coming from.
What was the breakthrough moment that allowed you to get you and your grandfather on the same page on that?
I think it just happened organically. I think we were at a farmer's market selling hot sauce that we make together. And I mean, we made that through the difficult things. Sometimes we didn't talk to each other or whatnot, but it happened.
Let me ask you this, Macy. You bring up a really interesting point here, and this is, I think, one reason why a lot of people aren't willing to continue a conversation with somebody, because their very existence feels like it's on the line. Like if your grandfather didn't accept you being trans, it's not just about a disagreement. It's about your very existence. Is that how it felt to you?
That's exactly how it felt to me, and it was a really hard thing, and it's the communication that's most important.
Well, thank you so much for that call. Really appreciate having you there. And let me go to Cynthia Wang on that. How about that issue of, whether it's that you're trans, or certainly with all of the Black Lives Matter conversation over the last several years, if there was disagreement about that, many times people thought, well, you don't agree with my right to be a full citizen of this country if you don't agree with me on this political issue. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think these conversations can be tough because it becomes kind of a personal issue and a moral issue. And this is what I think is difficult about these conversations, is people's emotions are riled up. So I think one thing that is important, and I think it's some of the themes that we're talking about today, is that take a step back, right? One thing you should really try to do with the other side is focus on making sure they feel safe to have these discussions. And that's just one step. You might not convince them at the end of the day, but it's just one step towards that civil conversation.
Governor Edgar, your thoughts?
Well, I can kind of relate to the grandfathers a little bit. I mean, it's just that issue has changed so much in the last 50 years. I mean, I was a Republican who supported a lot of gay rights legislation. I did not support same-sex marriage, but that time's passed me by. My kids just looked at me and said, Dad, what's I've got one of my son's more conservative than I am, but on that he just looked at me and says, what's the issue here? So there are issues that I think those of us who have a little more gray, if we still have hair, probably it's hard to understand that. And but I think it's encouraging to hear that his grandfather, they finally kind of came to common ground and he accepted it. And the age thing, I think, is a problem. Older folks, just change is hard to accept. And it's not just in this issue, but a lot of issues. And as a grandfather with 4 kids out of college and 1 in college and one now married, I mean, you realize times have changed and you've got to accept it. And hopefully you can go along with it.